Hi everyone, it's Luis Fernandez here with the LRF Group with Berkshire Hathaway, and today I have an exciting guest to interview. She's one of my top agents here on our team. I've known her for I think a couple of years or so, or maybe a little bit more. Her name is the one and only Andrea Masses. How you doing, Andrea?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I wanted to first thank you so much for joining us today. I know you have a very busy schedule, but I've been tracking you down the last couple of weeks to say, Andrea, please, I want you to do my little interview and presentation because I want people to know you. First of all, you're a fantastic realtor agent, and not only that, more importantly, you're a great human being. So I think it would be a great opportunity for people to get to know you a little bit better.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So I'm sure you get asked this question all the time. So you're walking around the street, you're minding your own business, and they say, "Hey, what made you be to become a realtor, especially of all places in Miami?"
Absolutely. Yeah, with so many realtors in Miami, or so-called realtors, right? Well, everything happened when I purchased my first home, and I understood the buyers needed a little more explanation, and they had high expectations, and very few realtors were meeting those expectations, I think. And nobody was really there to walk them through the process. It was just more the way I saw it. It was more just one another transaction for them, but they didn't engage on the kind of purchase that a person was making. And in my personal scenario, it was my first home, and I wish I would have had a little bit more of an experience where I was informed of the process and I understood exactly what I was doing. It was a great experience overall. I wouldn't say that it was a complete frustrating process, but I wish I would have had a better explanation. And because of the expectations I had as a buyer, I understood that there was a need for that, and that made me want to do it.
It's a good point that you bring that you had brought out here because there's you know and of course you always hear me say this too that there's a difference between having a real estate license and being a realtor. I think a real estate license is somebody who entertains the thought, right, of having
Yes.
a license for perhaps for their own personal needs and what have you. But a realtor is a professional. It's somebody who's out there servicing 24/7. And I would say 24/7 because our business, as you know, never ends. I mean, you're picking up the phone calls at 11 o'clock at night. You're sending out emails at 1 o'clock in the morning. Those type of things. That I think is the difference between someone who's a real estate agent and a professional and a consultant for their clients, and somebody who just happens to have a real estate license. There's a big disparity between those two, and and sometimes the consumer, not no fault of on their own, they believe that they put us all in one box, and of course you can attest to that. It's totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the entire thing is just a realtor as well. I think that um, people connect with the realtor, but there's so many other pieces behind the real estate transaction. And if that is not explained properly to the consumer, then all relies only on you, which is great that they see you as the only person in real estate, but at the same time, you do need to explain to them what are the process so that way they're more engaged and they understand what part needs to move how in order to close the transaction and actually get them to the ultimate goal, which is for them to get the property that they're trying to acquire.
I agree 100%. Let me ask you. So, what type of strengths do you have to bring to the table here? I mean, what would you say is one of your better strength and as in helping guide your customers and clients through this minutia of legal marketing and real estate contracts.
Definitely, definitely, I would say that my communication skills, especially with my clients, I try to make the process as transparent and as clear as possible to them. And that is one thing I always focus on. And the second one would be my empathetic personality. I believe that I connect very well with people, not only with clients, but as well as the other realtors. And as I said, the other parts of the transaction, even if it's the lender, the title company, and whomever be involved in this. Sometimes you have to get corrections and inspections that that you need to be focused on and you need to be present for, so that way you understand what you're talking about when you need to explain to your client what is what in the inspection or an appraisal. You need to be absolutely ready with comps to compensate for whatever issue that may come in the moment that they ask you. Know what a property has that differentiates it from the other properties that are out there in the market to justify price, or to just make sure that everything's taken into account when it's going to be reported to the bank. So yes, I think that personality, empathetic personality, and communication skills are the key of my strengths for any real estate transaction.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that you're juggling, I think, all at once, during the course of a transaction, and a lot of times the public doesn't really appreciate that, or it's not really knowledgeable of what the work that you do. Can you, just a little bit of a tidbit? Is there any type of situation that that you've been involved in recently that it was a difficult process and you were able to maneuver your way out of it and help your customer or solve the problem? I mean, that you want to share with all of us?
Well, yes, and you hold my hand through that process as well, so thank you for that.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
during the pandemic, um, we had gotten under contract right before of the pandemic with a client that it was going to purchase his house um, completely, basically cash, and everything was going great. Um, and then our president announced that we were shutting down. And I guess, like everybody else, we were in shock, and I couldn't even believe it. So obviously, the buyer um, decided not to purchase in that moment because of the uncertainty of the market. And with you and Giovanna and the rest of the team, we strategized. And funny enough, like a few days before, you have mentioned about seller finance and how it worked. And I thought that our buyer was the perfect candidate for that. Obviously, we needed the seller, which also was going through a pandemic and difficult times, to agree to it. But the ultimate goal was for the seller to sell and for the buyer to get it. And we got everybody involved at Cheney's and whatnot. And we were able to solidify that sale. And now he is a happy homeowner, and he has gotten so much equity in just 2 years. So he's very grateful that we were able to do that.
Awesome! It's amazing. It wasn't for your skill set and being able to bring that to the table. That seller perhaps would not have been able to sell that property at that time, and that buyer definitely would not have been able to purchase the property at that time as well. And it would have been, so it's amazing how important that the realtor that's in there, it's engaged, helps bring the deals together, right? You
Yes,
I think the mindset of it's with you and our team and we constantly convey is we're deal makers, we're not deal breakers, right? And
exactly.
and you have to be able, when you working with a customer, either a buyer or a seller, you have to first ask a lot of questions, try to find out what their situation is, why are they wanting to do what they want to do, and try to help navigate and help them, find the perfect solution. It may not be always what they may want to hear, right? And it may not always, a seller may want to sell, and it may not be the right moment for them to sell, and we have to advise them to listen, hold off. And also when you're working with a buyer, correct? I mean, you may want to say, look, wait until we get these things straightened out before we go out looking for buying a property. And at that moment, they become a stronger buyer, as a seller will become also a stronger seller. So this is where you come in, right? This is your skill set and knowledge that's why you're so successful in what you do. Let me ask you on the weaknesses side of, because we always have our strengths and weaknesses, and we're always working on improving ourselves. What would you think would be something that you would say, hey, I want to be better at this level, maybe, next time this year. Is there anything, or are you, or is it? Well, I just lost you, Andrea. I think I lost you. Hold on. Back in. Okay, we're back here with Andrea. I think we had lost communication with her. So so getting back to what I was talking about, what is it that you think that you want to get a little bit better professionally or maybe personally? You know, maybe at the same time next year that you think that you need to work on.
Well, there's a lot of new trends these days, and I think that I need to get a lot more savvy on the new crypto transactions and tradings of properties. I think especially on the luxury purchases, we're seeing this more and more. So I want to get very knowledgeable about it. We've seen it, and I'm sure that it's gonna be there. It's a new product that we will need to be able to utilize to perfection and to actually encourage our buyers and sellers to maximize with it.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think well, in terms of the crypto market in general, I think that's something that that we need that we're working on to be much more schooled in. And also, there's also those tools in terms of you in helping sellers that need to they are transitioning to buyers, help them finance their home and to make them into cash buyers. And there's a couple interesting, nice products that from the Inman conference that was in New York that we talked about in the team meeting. I think that we're going to be putting that out there, those products out there very soon for our customers for them to take advantage of. So I think we're very excited about those type of those products coming in, to market. Uh, have you ever dealt with a customer or a situation that their personality is a little bit different and you have to adjust to how they work? Is there of course and that's what makes you such a successful realtor that you have to adjust. Is there like a maybe a little story as well in regards to that you want to share?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't let personality get in the middle of a transaction, nor mine, nor any of the other parties. Personalities are just that, a personality. I think that what's most important is professionalism and ethics. And with that, obviously, there have been moments where you struggled because, as we spoke earlier, um, there are some real estate licensees, but not realtors,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're just every single day and they don't do it full time. And it becomes difficult when you have to actually do part of their job and just making sure that both sellers and buyers have a great experience out of it. And regardless of who we represent, we always want to make sure that we're fair and that we're putting everybody's interests first before our own interests as realtors, right? So that becomes difficult when the other party is not ready to do it. Also, selecting you, the people who's going to service the entire transaction. And I think that it's important to have the right team and the right suppliers of those services. We have great attorneys helping us for the title. We have probably the best lenders in town with an amazing reputation that as soon as we put a pre-approval letter in front of the buyer or the seller, in this case, they actually know who we're talking about and they're confident that we're going to get to closing. So I guess that's the most important part in the real estate transaction. And definitely we had situations where none of the vendors or the other realtor have performed the way that we expected. So that's when it becomes a little more challenging. But at the same time, I had great people on the other side of the table who have actually helped us get there. So as long as you have the right team behind the transaction for both parties, everything will go smooth. If one part of the big a small piece of that big transaction falls out, you have to be ready to come in. And I am thankful for everybody that works with us in the transactions because we always have that second opinion if something is happening. If you get into a situation where, oh, this building it's not approved because the lender didn't know, because maybe the lender is from out of town, we have our local people that can help us and say, hey, listen, this is the way you overcome this. And I do think that that's the most important part. We had many situations where things can go south, and we end up resolving it. And there's sometimes that you can learn from the experience, and that's all you get, the
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah, I think you said something very important in the you said that about the personality part of it. It's that sometimes personality gets in the way of the transaction. Either if you're working with another, you cooperating broker, or with the seller, if you happen to be a resident of the buyer, or vice versa. I think that as long as you can keep everybody just focused, it's about the transaction. It's about getting to the closing table. Personality, really has something to do with it, and it actually only does. It's just it gets in the way. So, and I always say, listen, the worst closing is the one that doesn't happen, right? So,
Exactly.
no matter you've been, if you're fighting along the way and people are pointing fingers and whatever, but if you're able to bring all those parties together, buyers and the seller there, and you get the mortgage broker or the lender, also sometimes they drag their feet too to come in together, and you all come in and finally close. Hey, listen, when you're walking away, everybody's happy, no matter what has happened prior to that. So it's the one that doesn't close is the one that which thank goodness with us, but it's very few and far in between. It's the one that is it's the one that sticks in your head, and then yeah, exactly you learn from it. That's absolutely true. Let me ask you something. So, what are you finding yourself working now with more buyers and sellers, or both? I mean, what area do you see that? I mean, in this year so far that you're concentrating in terms of Miami, and is there a particular neighborhood or niche area that you feel more comfortable and you seem to be attracting a lot more customers? Hello.
There we go.
I'm seem to be losing you, Andrea.
I,
I seem to be losing you. Uh, where were you? I mean, what's the last thing you heard from me?
you were saying about our personalities, we cannot get let it get into a
Yeah,
transaction.
yeah, in a way, exactly. So I think that, so, but the question I posed to you, I think that is, I mean, what area right now that you're concentrating, and also, do you seem to find yourself working with more buyers than sellers, or more sellers than buyers, or both?
Both. I think there is this market right now. It's a great market for us in South Florida. It's very healthy, and yes, there you will consider this a seller's market. Most people do.
Right,
But I would say that buyers are out there. They're still buying. They're still taking advantage of the still low interest rates. And the truth of the matter is that we have to become flexible depending on what time of the market we're in. And I've happened to work mostly with buyers, but I would say that I am doing both at this time.
right. And these buyers are coming, and they're coming from where? Usually, where they're coming from?
Well, thanks to the LRF Group that we have a dual license in New York and in Florida, we have been able to solidify many buyers that are coming from the Northeast, right? Um, Obviously, locals. I would say that right now Miami has awakened, and most locals who were renting at some point, they understand the necessity to purchase in the place that they have decided to call home, and it's not Miami.
Right,
And and yes, and the influx of people from out of state, it's immense, I would say, and they are using only realtors who are very qualified, because this the influx of people that are coming are generally professionals, highly educated. This is probably their second or third purchase of a home. So they want someone as knowledgeable as they are handling their transactions. So we've been able, and we've been very grateful to solidify many purchases for them as well.
oh, awesome, perfect. And to wrap things up, and I don't want to take any more of your busy schedule for today. What does
No,
success? Yeah, what does success mean to Andrea Masses? I mean, what is it that you find? Because success is it's a really finicky,
yeah,
terminology and word.
it is very much so. I think that success looks different for everybody, right? But to me, it looks so much like this city, like our thriving city. It's rich, it's full of energy, always ready to take on the new adventures and making the most difficult times and challenges and making them in part of your learning experience. That to me is success. That it's not always the wins, is what you learn from your losses, and that's success.
I love that. I love that very much. Yeah. So if somebody, so if your customers that want to reach you, is email that you want to provide? Is there a phone number and email?
It's my name and last name, Andrea Masses, at bhhsfloridarealty.net. My phone number is 305-890-2100. A true local. That's how you know that a realtor has been in this city for a very long
Yeah,
time.
try
You
305.
have a 305. And I also have my social media. You can find me at Andrea Masses and on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm there for everybody.
All right, perfect. I'll add that in the caption as well. Thank you so much, Andrea, for your time, and I really appreciate you sitting down with us. And it was a pleasure speaking with you. And enjoy your beautiful weekend. I'm sure that you're going to be working very hard.
Yeah, we already have open house lineup. So yay.
You,
It's gonna be a
by the way, that open house. Do you have the address on you on hand? You want to share it or?
I do not have it on hand right now, so I will give it to you so you can post it as well. Okay.
Beautiful, perfect. Okay, Andrea. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.